Jon Moxley just returned to WWE as the Mystery Man, and what he's planning with Roman Reigns will destroy everyone. The most shocking and controversial return in wrestling history just exploded across Monday Night Raw, and Jon Moxley revealing himself as the mystery attacker before immediately aligning with Roman Reigns proves that the Shield's most dangerous member is back to help the Tribal Chief cement absolute dominance over WWE in the most ruthless way imaginable. Moxley didn't just come back for a nostalgic reunion or a feel-good moment. He returned as a weapon, as Roman's personal enforcer, as the one man violent and unpredictable enough to eliminate any threat to bloodline supremacy through methods that Roman himself can't be directly connected to. Before I break down every detail of Moxley's shocking return and expose the terrifying alliance he's formed with Roman that threatens to destroy CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, and everyone else standing against them, answer me this: is Jon Moxley a sellout who abandoned his principles to align with the very corporate WWE machine he once criticized, or is this the smartest career move he could make? Drop your brutally honest answer in the comments, because what Moxley just did has completely divided the wrestling world between people celebrating his return and people calling him a hypocrite and a traitor to everything he claimed to stand for. The Mystery Man storyline had been WWE's most compelling angle for months, with a hooded figure systematically attacking top superstars in brutal assaults that seemed designed not just to win matches but to inflict maximum physical damage and career-threatening injuries. The attack showed a level of violence and disregard for safety that went beyond typical wrestling aggression into something that felt genuinely dangerous and personal. Every victim was left broken and questioning who hated them enough to attack with such viciousness, and the wrestling world spent countless hours analyzing footage, debating theories, and trying to identify the Mystery Man through body language, fighting style, and targeting patterns. Some attacks seemed random while others appeared strategic, removing specific obstacles from Roman Reigns' path to continued championship dominance, but proving a connection between the Mystery Man and the Tribal Chief remained elusive until Monday Night Raw provided the answer everyone had been desperately seeking. The reveal happened during a segment where Roman Reigns was scheduled to address his upcoming championship defense and his plans for continuing bloodline dominance despite mounting opposition from various babyface factions. The Tribal Chief stood in the ring with Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa, exuding his typical confidence and control, when suddenly his music cut off and the arena plunged into darkness. When the lights came back up, a hooded figure was standing on the entrance ramp, and the now familiar Mystery Man disguise that had become synonymous with fear and chaos throughout WWE. Roman's face showed no surprise or concern, which immediately made people suspicious about whether he knew who this was and possibly even approved of the Mystery Man's campaign of terror. Quick question for the comments: when the Mystery Man appeared during Roman's segment, did you immediately suspect they were working together, or did you think the Mystery Man was there to attack Roman? Let me know your initial reaction. The Mystery Man walked slowly down the ramp, and every step built tension as fans tried to gauge whether this was a confrontation or something else entirely. When the hooded figure reached the ring, Roman and Solo stepped forward as if preparing to defend themselves, but Paul Heyman held up his hand signaling them to wait. The Wiseman approached the Mystery Man and, in a moment that sent chills through everyone watching, extended his hand in greeting rather than showing fear or hostility. The Mystery Man shook Heyman's hand, then turned to face Roman Reigns in a standoff that had the entire arena holding its breath, waiting to see whether violence would erupt or whether something even more shocking was about to happen. Roman Reigns was the one who reached up and pulled back the Mystery Man's hood, revealing Jon Moxley's face for the first time since his departure from WWE years ago. The pop from the crowd was absolutely deafening, a mixture of genuine excitement at seeing Moxley return and shock at the context of that return as the person responsible for months of brutal attacks. Moxley's appearance had changed during his time away. He looked harder, more weathered, more dangerous than the Dean Ambrose character WWE fans remembered. This wasn't the goofy lunatic fringe who did comedy segments. This was a legitimate tough guy who'd proven himself in death matches and hardcore warfare, someone who looked capable of the extreme violence the Mystery Man had inflicted on his victims. Do you think Jon Moxley looks more credible and dangerous now than he did during his original WWE run? Share your opinion in the comments section. Roman and Moxley embraced in the center of the ring, a Shield reunion that should have been triumphant and emotional but instead felt ominous and threatening given the circumstances. Roman grabbed a microphone and provided the explanation that recontextualized months of storylines. This is Jon Moxley, my brother. My Shield brother who never really left, who's been working with me this entire time to eliminate threats to our dominance and rebuild the Shield's legacy as the most dominant force in wrestling history. Every attack he made was calculated. Every target was chosen specifically to clear our path and weaken opposition before they could become genuine threats. Mox came back to WWE not for redemption or nostalgia, but to help me, to help us, maintain absolute control over this company and destroy anyone who thinks they can challenge bloodline supremacy. The revelation that Roman and Moxley had been secretly coordinating for months sent shockwaves through the arena and across social media as fans processed the implications. This meant that Roman had known about the mystery attacks all along and potentially even ordered them. It meant the Tribal Chief had a weapon he could deploy whenever needed to eliminate problems while maintaining plausible deniability about his involvement. It meant that anyone who challenged Roman wasn't just facing him and the visible bloodline members, they were facing a shadow enforcer who could attack at any moment from any direction without warning. The strategic brilliance of Roman having Moxley operate as a mystery attacker before revealing their alliance created retroactive understanding of patterns that seemed random but were actually carefully orchestrated to serve Roman's interests. Jon Moxley's first words as the revealed mystery man were delivered with cold intensity that made it clear this wasn't the comedic Dean Ambrose returning for a nostalgia pop. "I left WWE years ago because I was being turned into a cartoon character, because my potential was being wasted on garbage storylines and comedy segments that insulted my intelligence and my abilities. I went to other places and proved what Jon Moxley could be when unleashed and allowed to be violent and dangerous. Now I'm back, and I'm back on my terms, as the weapon that Roman Reigns needs to maintain dominance. I've attacked everyone Roman told me to attack. I've injured everyone who needed to be removed from our path. And I'll continue doing exactly that to anyone stupid enough to stand against the Shield and the Bloodline United." Can you name all the wrestlers that the mystery man attacked during this storyline? Comment your list, because Moxley's targeting becomes very interesting when you know he was working for Roman. The mention of uniting the Shield with the Bloodline created immediate questions about Seth Rollins and whether the third Shield member was involved in this conspiracy or would be brought into it now that Moxley had returned. Seth's conspicuous absence from this Raw segment suggested either he wasn't informed about Moxley's return and alliance with Roman, or he was deliberately staying away to maintain distance from what his Shield brothers were doing. The possibility of Seth eventually joining Roman and Mox to complete the Shield reunion while the three of them also controlled the Bloodline would create the most powerful and dominant faction in WWE history, but it would also require Seth abandoning his babyface positioning and accepting his role in a plan that involved brutal attacks on people he's been friendly with. Paul Heyman's obvious satisfaction at this development showed the Wiseman's fingerprints all over the long-term planning that brought Moxley back in this capacity. Heyman has spent years positioning Roman as WWE's ultimate power player, and adding Jon Moxley as Roman's enforcer and attack dog represents the final piece of a championship-level strategy. Heyman addressed the crowd with his typical eloquent manipulation. "What you've witnessed tonight is the greatest strategic reunion in sports entertainment history. The tribal chief Roman Reigns, the most dominant WWE champion of all time, has added Jon Moxley, the most dangerous and violent competitor in wrestling, to his arsenal of weapons. Together, they will destroy every challenger, eliminate every threat, and prove definitively that there is no force in WWE or in all of professional wrestling that can stop them when they work together." The immediate targets of this Roman-Moxley alliance became clear when they started calling out specific superstars by name. CM Punk was at the top of their list, with Moxley revealing that attacking Punk at Survivor Series was his first assignment from Roman and one he executed with particular enthusiasm given their history and personal issues from AEW. Cody Rhodes was named as another primary target, with Roman stating that Cody's attempts to finish his story would be permanently ended by the Shield's reformed partnership. Other top babyfaces, including various members of opposition factions, were put on notice that they were marked for destruction by the most dangerous alliance WWE had seen in years. The hit list created immediate storyline direction and guaranteed compelling television for months as these targets tried to survive against overwhelming odds. Who do you think is in the most danger from this Roman-Moxley alliance? Comment your prediction, because someone's career is about to get destroyed. The backstage reaction to Moxley's return and alignment with Roman has reportedly been mixed and complicated among WWE's roster. Wrestlers who've been victims of the mystery man's attacks are furious that their injuries and setbacks were part of a calculated campaign by Roman and his allies rather than random violence. Others are scared, recognizing that opposing Roman now means facing not just the visible bloodline but also Moxley operating in shadows with no rules or boundaries. A third group of wrestlers is reportedly considering joining Roman's side, recognizing that being with him is safer and more beneficial than being against him now that he's added such a dangerous weapon to his arsenal. The political calculations happening throughout the locker room will reshape alliances and storylines for months to come. CM Punk's response to learning Moxley was behind his attack and is now officially allied with Roman Reigns came via a fiery video promo that promised violent retaliation. Punk looked genuinely enraged as he addressed both men. "John, you cowardly piece of trash. You attacked me from behind while wearing a mask because you knew that in a fair fight I'd expose you as the overhyped brawler you've always been. And Roman, you're so scared of me that you need to hire attack dogs and orchestrate conspiracies because you know that one-on-one, head-to-head, I'm better than you, and I'll prove it by taking the championship and ending your historic reign. You two think teaming up makes you unstoppable? All you've done is given me 2 targets instead of 1, and I promise both of you that I will get my revenge for what you did, and I will make you regret the day you decided CM Punk was someone you could attack and humiliate without consequences." The Shield branding and imagery being incorporated into the Bloodline aesthetic created fascinating visual representation of these two dominant factions merging into something even more powerful. Roman and Moxley wearing tactical gear that combined Shield military styling with Bloodline tribal elements sent a clear message that this wasn't just one faction absorbing another, this was the creation of something new and more dangerous than either group individually. The merchandising possibilities are enormous, with WWE already preparing Shield Bloodline crossover products that will capitalize on the nostalgia factor while also representing this new era of combined dominance. The criticism from fans who view Moxley's return as a betrayal of everything he stood for when leaving WWE has been loud and persistent across social media. Moxley spent years criticizing WWE's creative process, corporate structure, and treatment of talent, positioning himself as someone who valued artistic freedom and wrestling credibility over money and mainstream exposure. His return to WWE after those criticisms, and specifically returning as Roman's enforcer in a clearly corporate-approved storyline, makes him look hypocritical to fans who respected his principled stance. The argument that Moxley sold out for a big payday and mainstream platform after claiming those things didn't matter to him has merit and creates real credibility issues for his character that WWE will need to address through booking and character development. Do you think Jon Moxley is a hypocrite for returning to WWE after everything he said, or do circumstances change and people are allowed to make different choices? Share your honest take in the comments. The comparison to other controversial returns and heel turns in wrestling history shows that Moxley's situation is uniquely complicated. When wrestlers like Brock Lesnar or CM Punk himself returned to WWE after bitter departures, there were questions about selling out versus making smart business decisions. But those returns were as individual performers, not as part of explicitly aligning with a heel faction and admitting to months of cowardly attacks from behind a mask. The specific context of how Moxley returned as a revealed villain rather than a triumphant hero makes this different from typical return scenarios and harder for some fans to accept or celebrate despite their genuine happiness at seeing Mox back in WWE. The long-term storytelling possibilities with Roman and Moxley as partners create exciting potential if WWE commits to the angle and doesn't abandon it after a few weeks as they sometimes do with promising storylines. The Shield history between them provides built-in drama and emotional stakes that casual fans can understand even without deep knowledge of wrestling history. The contrast between Roman's calculating, political approach and Moxley's chaotic violence creates interesting character dynamics where they're effective partners but potentially unstable as personalities. The ever-present possibility of betrayal looms over any Shield-related storyline given their history, making every interaction between Roman and Mox carry subtext about trust and loyalty that adds layers to even simple segments. The implications for Seth Rollins are massive as he's now the only Shield member not participating in this alliance between Roman and Moxley. Seth faces a choice: join his brothers and abandon his babyface positioning, or oppose them and risk being targeted by the combined force of two of the most dangerous performers in WWE. The character development opportunities for Seth navigating this impossible situation could produce some of his best work if WWE gives him the time and creative freedom to explore the emotional complexity of being caught between loyalty to his Shield family and his moral opposition to their methods and targets. What should Seth Rollins do in this situation? Join Roman and Mox, fight against them, or try to stay neutral? Let me know your booking preference in the comments section. So here's my final question, and I want passionate responses from all perspectives. Is Jon Moxley's return as the mystery man who immediately allies with Roman Reigns the most brilliant and exciting storyline development WWE has done in years? Or is it a disappointing waste of Moxley's return that makes him look like a hypocrite and a villain when fans wanted to cheer for him? And regardless of how you feel about the booking, do you think this Roman-Moxley alliance can actually last long-term, or is another Shield betrayal inevitable within months? Get in those comments right now and share your unfiltered opinion, because Jon Moxley's WWE return is either the beginning of the most dominant faction in wrestling history or it's a creative misfire that will fall apart quickly and leave everyone involved worse off than before this storyline started.